Bill was a devoted husband of Diane, a proud dad to Sarah, Dylan, and Tessa, and the oldest son of Mary and the late Keith. His brothers, John and Walt, idolized him. I met Bill's family early on. His dad, Keith, was one of a kind, just like Bill. Over the years, Bill and I shared a lot of laughs and more than a few drinks with Keith, and you could see right away, the apple didn't fall very far from the tree. When Keith passed suddenly at 65, the family was crushed. And now it hits especially hard that Bill was also 65. I'll never forget our good friend Doug Roxburgh playing the bagpipes that day, just like he's doing here today. It was powerful then, and it's powerful now. Thank you, Roxy, from all of us, and especially from Billy. He loved the pipes, and you're the best when you've got your kilt on. Anyone who knew Bill quickly learned he was fiercely loyal, mischievous as hell, and loved a good practical joke. He believed in justice, he defended the weak, and had a moral compass that never wavered. Policing suited him perfectly. His presence, his size, and his sense of fairness. I could tell a story for hours about Bill's exploits, but I'll try to keep it to 12 minutes, 12-ish. One story that stands out was from the late 80s, and I was reminded of this story by Roxy, actually. We were working the North End when a call came in about a break-in in progress, and it involved quite an elderly Ukrainian Baba. She was being terrorized by some dirtbag. Bill was absolutely outraged. He turned to my field training recruit and said, "Close your itty-bitty eyes, Yaki, because I'm about to put the fear of God into that guy." Well, that was Bill, always standing up for those who couldn't defend themselves. Winnipeg streets were safer because of him. Bill's sense of humor was legendary, as you've already heard, and dangerous. Downtime for Bill meant danger time for everyone else. And some examples of when we were young constables, when he was just kind of getting a feel for this thing. We'd come out after lunch to our cruiser car, and we'd go to leave the garage, and as we're going up the incline to the ramp, all of a sudden there's water pouring in both of our laps. What the hell? And then you pull it down, and all these half cups of water fall out of the visors. Bill Stewart. Baby powder in the defrost vents. So he'd fill the defrost vents in the cruiser cars, put the fan on high, make sure it was all wiped clean. As soon as you started the car, boof, blizzard in the cruiser car. Toilet paper around personal vehicles, frozen solid overnight, because you made sure to wet them too. So that was one of his favorites. So after a long midnight shift, you go outside and you look at your car, and there's just no way you can get into it. Like, it would take hours to get into your car, and you're just dead tired already. And him and Tom Lake were famous for water balloons. So you get a box of water balloons, and they'd set them in the seat beside him, and they'd come up beside your cruiser car, and they'd, roll your window down, roll your window down, midwinter, right? So you roll your window down, big water balloon, here, catch, right in your lap. Soaked like you had just pissed your pants, something awful. But one time the shift got even. You're always kind of scared with messing with Bill because you weren't sure what he could do in return if you messed and played a practical joke on him. Someone on our shift brought a chicken from his farm and put it in Bill's locker and tucked it nicely under a blanket. I didn't know this, but when a chicken is covered, it freezes. But the moment you uncover it, boom, it explodes upward. So, who knew? I mean, only a farmer would know that. We sure had no idea. So we all waited the next aisle when we knew Bill was coming. You hear the locker open. There's a big pause. Then Bill says, "What the hell?" I guess at that point he lifts the blanket, and this chicken shoots up like it was shot out of a cannon right into his face. Bill lets out a blood-curdling scream and falls back, knocks the whole row of lockers over, and then the whole next row goes like dominoes, and we're all in the next aisle. It's like, holy shit. And Bill screams, "I'll kill you." Fuck. You ain't ever seen a bunch of guys move faster than that, I'll tell you. It was unbelievable. Policing gives you a front row seat to the underbelly of society. When things went sideways, We called it a shit fest. If it got worse, it became a blossoming shit fest. Bill and I seemed to attract a lot of those. We were never assigned in a cruiser car together, but whenever, for whatever reason, we were working together on an assigned shift, shit always happened. So one midnight shift, we're working downtown, and we get a dispatch to a rollover. And it was right at Logan and Salter. So we arrive. There's bodies everywhere. So pickup truck had been coming over the Salter Street Bridge, the old bridge, where it was not straight like it is now and had a big curve in the bottom. So there was 4 in the cab and 13 in the pickup truck, like in the bed of the pickup truck. 17 bodies in one pickup truck. So anyways, they were going way too fast, warp 9 over the bridge, lose control at that curve, truck starts to roll out into the field. You can imagine how that went. So Bill and I pull up, and we're looking around like, holy shit, like, where do you start, right? And Bill looks, he goes, Bish, it's the mother of all shitfests. The Battle of Little Bigfoot, he goes. There was people trying to walk with broken legs and pelvises because they were all in a stolen vehicle, so they were trying to get away. Well, they were all broken to pieces, so trying to run like this, and their hips are broken and their legs are broken, so they didn't get very far anyway. So, yeah, that was probably the biggest shitfest we were ever involved in. Bill loved his kids deeply and spoke of them often. When he wasn't working or chasing bad guys, he curled a lot, and he was also damn good at that. I think you've heard some stories about curling already. He recruited half the police force into the Firefighters Curling League and even dragged me along. He served on club executives, including president of the St. Vital Curling Club, and we curled together for decades in leagues, bond seals, and even with the Stewart boys at the MCA. We did that a number of times. And let me tell you, all the Stewart boys can curl. They're all naturals, and of course they could because they're Scottish. Made sense. The memories from those games are some of the best of my life. I wanted to mention one thing. We also curled together in the police curling championships a number of times. And we had a pretty interesting team a number of years. We had Don Nelson, who was 6'5", Greg Cannon and Bill Stewart, who were both 6'3", and there was little old me at 5'10". The boys used to joke that we would definitely be the biggest curling team in the world in terms of weight, more than half a ton, and also in height, if I hadn't brought the average height down to 5'10". Yeah, right. Bill was also the life of every party. That booming voice, that laugh, you always knew where he was. Once properly lubricated, he'd belt out, "Oh, Danny boy," in his baritone voice. It was the unofficial gauge of how many drinks he'd had that night. Bill was unbelievably inclusive. The guy who kept in touch, checked in, and made everyone feel like they mattered. That's why you see so many faces here today. He was loved by all, and he made an effort to keep in contact with everybody. When Bill met a woman, he could charm her instantly. The first time he met my wife Sherry, he took her hand and said, "Has anyone ever told you you're as pretty as a rose on the side of a mountain after a spring shower?" Then he kissed her hand. That was it. She loved him from that moment on. I'm sure many women that are here today have heard that line, and I wouldn't be surprised if he used it on his Scottish lass Diane too. Bill and Diane met in 2007, and I had never seen them so happy. They were perfect together, both larger than life, full of fun, and magnetic in every crowd. When they got engaged, Diane dreamed of being married in Scotland, and they made it happen. In 2010, they were wed at Eline Donan Castle in full Scottish regalia. Now that's raising the bar for wedding venues. Very impressive. Apparently I've got my
want some of mine? I think they're the same.
Yeah, I think I found it. Mhm. Thanks, Foz. Bill and Dan built a beautiful life together. They traveled, laughing and loving their cottage at Poplar Bay. Their joy together was contagious. A bunch of us cops also had cottages in the same area. Gary Simpson, Greg Can, Dennis Muth, and I was about 15 minutes away in Pointe de Bois. Needless to say, the three of those guys were getting together a lot. And they had a lot of great stories to tell. Many a bottle died at the hands of that group. The stories never got old, the shots never ran out, and the laughter always carried across the lake. Bill and I even carpooled to work for years. Great for gas savings, terrible for reliability. Bill would say, let's just stop for one drink. Anyone who knew him knows what that meant. One drink never happened. And more than once, he just left, disappeared. And there I was, stranded without my ride home. Where did Bill go? Gone. Once after leaving early, he got caught speeding on Burroughs. A pursuit call went out over the air. It was Bill being chased by a road inspector. He finally pulled over, and thankfully, it was Joe Gallagher. Any other inspector, and it might have ended much differently. So thank you, Joe. That one's from Billy. I don't even know Joe's here, but a few of Bill's close friends couldn't be here today. Ron Tinker and Brad Dole, but they send their love and condolences. They're both traveling. Bill's personality was a beacon on the hill. His flame burned like a supernova. And it's always the brightest flames that burn out first. I'm going to miss you, my brother. I love you. I'll keep your memory alive every day. To Sir William Keith of the Clan Stewart, may the lassies forever look up your kilt, and may your flame burn bright in the afterlife, guiding your family and friends home. Until we meet again.
Good job, Bishop.
Buzz?
Well, there are a few things that are, excuse me, constant in life. But there are a couple. Art Standard and Doug Roxburgh are still on the police department, so that's at least two things that I know that are constant. Ecclesiastics tells us it's up to the living to speak for the dead. So I'm here today to say a few words. A lot of my thunder's been stolen by Jungle and Bish already, so I won't repeat it for the sake of brevity. But for those few people in here that probably don't know me, I'm Gary Simpson. Bill Stewart was one of my best friends for over 40 years. My deepest condolences to his wife Diane, his children Dylan, Tessa, and Sarah, and their mother Terry, to his mother Mary Stewart, to his brothers John and Walt and their families. I can't even tell you how much your brother meant to me. When I sat down and I started to write out a few notes, what do you say about someone you've called one of your best friends for over 40 years? I've known him since 1981, same as Bish. I've known him since before either one of us were married, before any of our children were born. We were hanging around and buddies long before then. First time I actually met Billy was at a pay night. Got introduced to the pay nights, which I came to love. Every second Thursday was our pay nights, and our club on Princess was the place to be. So I'm at the pay night, my first one, and I'm up ordering myself a beer. All of a sudden, the women's washroom door opens up, and out comes this big behemoth with his hair spiked up, his pants up to here, and he's doing the Pee Wee Herman. And they had the music tequila playing. I said, I think I like that guy. I'm going to hang around with that guy. Sure, 40 years later, we were hanging around. I wrote this stuff the other night, and I have my glasses on. Do you think I can read it? I decided to keep this tribute to my friend on the lighter side. Hey, that was Billy. He would want us to do that. He would want us to laugh. I spoke to David Black about a week ago, and he advised me to remember all the great times we had together as friends and not dwell on his passing. David was right. I divided my little speech into 2 parts because that's the only way I think all of us want to remember Billy, with his pranks, his phone calls, his texts. Most of us in this room have all been victimized or traumatized by them. Bish and Dennis Muth, probably two of the biggest ones. Jesus. I ended up working with Billy in District 3. We wound up on the same shift. They kicked a bunch of guys out of Division 11 one year because they had way too many people driving around doing nothing, while those of us in the North End were run to the bone. So Billy and Bish wound up out in District 3. Billy wound up on my shift, and although we weren't assigned partners, God, Dylan, you look like your dad. Billy, I often worked with Billy. We went on several calls, and often Billy found the humor in everything. Brant has alluded to that. One night in particular, we're driving around, and one of the rare times in the North End where you could actually sit over and have a coffee. So I'm enjoying my coffee. We're at Sutherland and Main, parked in the dark. Hopefully nobody can see us. We're having our coffee. But Stewart, Brant mentioned it, idle mind. He's got to do something. So he's got the spotlight. Do you remember those old ones that they used to plug into the day? Anyway, Stewart's shining it on all these buildings. I said, Billy, what are you doing? He says, just looking around. The next thing I know, I look over at my driver's side window. Yeah, there's this crazy guy looking in my window. As I roll down the window, I says, yes. He says, there are lights shining in my window. He says, I need the police help. Well, you probably do, but probably not from these two. You really get to know somebody when you sit in a cruiser car with them for 10 hours a day. You often spend more time with your workmates than you do with your family, unfortunately, and it's just the nature of the job. Billy and I became closer and closer friends. He could drive you nuts one minute, and I wanted to scrog him I don't know how many times, and 10 minutes later, he'd have me laughing. I mean, I'm sure we've all experienced that with Billy. You know, he was one of those guys, you could never stay mad at him. Well, I already told the Beamer story. I told you I should have had my glasses on. We were at the Polish Legion one night on Main Street, just before Christmas. And we had a lot of the old Polish veterans used to come in there, and Billy liked going there. So these old guys are telling all their war stories and all the horrible things they experienced in World War II. And, well, it wasn't Billy's nature to sit there and get down in the doldrums. So the next thing I know, Billy's got his teeth out, and he's stirring his drink with them. These old Polish guys who have been through hell in World War II, it was the worst thing they'd ever seen in their life. One old guy, Stan from Jet Roof, you remember Stan saying, Billy, put those back in your mouth, Billy. Billy. You know, our lives were entwined together. A few short years later, we wound up in Division 11 on the same shift. This time, Billy was one of my supervisors. I think, Mambo, you were the other one. I know Zap was there for a while. Billy had been in the crime division and got promoted from there. Billy made the job fun. we had one cocky young female come on to our shift one day, and she's trying to feel out who her bosses are and what they're like. And my partner at the time, my favorite partner of the whole time on the job, was Kenny Eamon. We're standing there. So anyway, she asked us about this Bill Stewart. I hear he likes to play jokes on people. Oh, well, yeah, Chris. Or should I say? No, I won't say her name. But I warned her, do not poke the bear with a stick, because you're going to find out. Anyway, she did a couple of short little pranks to Billy. So one day she gets a call to the reader's office. Picks up the phone. We heard the teddy bear thing. Well, he used that one again. So this is Constable blah, 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 blah from the Winnipeg Police Service. Is Teddy Bear there? The guy goes, well, yeah, it's Toys R Us. So she comes out of the office. She's madder than a hornet. And she looks at me and Emo, and she says, you guys knew what he was going to do. I said, no, I knew he was going to get you. I didn't know exactly what he was going to do. But I did warn you to leave him alone. Billy was notorious for his specials, like Jungle talked about. Also his caricatures all over the PSB. The Quaker Oats one, Mr. Potato Head. He would put them everywhere. There's a police building, like it, you know. The average public walked into there like, what the hell is this? But it, you know, anytime you saw something like that, you knew it was Billy. Billy got promoted. I helped him with his sergeant promotion. He was in the vice division at the time. And Billy got promoted that year, so we all went out to celebrate with his vice shift and wound up at the Norwood Hotel. So we'd had a nice evening. We're all congratulating Bill. So they shut off, the band finishes, and they shut all the lights off on the stage and turned the mic off and everything. All of a sudden, Stewart gets up to the stage, flips all the lights on, turns the mic on, and starts singing, what else? Oh, Daddy boy. Anyway, the crowd starts applauding. The manager's trying to throw us out, but the crowd that was leaving, won't leave because they're enjoying Billy. So, and to complicate things even more, Ken Shipley and I were sitting in the back, and Shipley's whole shift got up behind Stewart. So while Billy's singing, they're all walking behind him. It was a show. In 2009, April 25th, actually, Billy and I both quit the police service because our underwear didn't fit properly. Well, I guess a lot of you don't watch that commercial, but anyway, we actually retired, and we wound up spending even more time together. Billy had, I guess, over 30 years on the job at the time, and me just under 29. So we got to spend a lot of time. We ended up, because of Dennis Mouth, thanks, I got a mortgage still on this place, but I ended up buying a cottage out at, just northeast of Lac de Bonnie, and Billy and Diane came out shortly thereafter. Get into the off-duty stuff. We played baseball together in the B-side baseball league. Billy was, we went into the Continental after there was about 30 policemen, and we're having a couple of drafts after baseball, and these strippers come on. So one of them is annoyed that Billy isn't paying attention to her. So Billy doesn't miss a beat and says, he looks at her and he says, the last time I saw a face like that, it had a hook in it. I go, oh, God. Billy, we're here for a good time. Like, why? So anyway, she's with a bunch of bikers. So they get up and they figure they're going to come over and throttle us. Wrong. The 30 policemen stood up. So, oh no, we're going to have a bench clearing brawl. That was Stewart stirring it up. By the end of the night, they were all sitting with us. Bikers, strippers, cops. We're all having drinks with Billy in the center of it, being the entertainment. That's who Billy Stewart was. We went camping, we had a lot of, I remember one particular time at Poplar Bay, Doug Poopsie Roxburgh and Henry the Buzz Brzezinski come out. Poopsie brought his bagpipes. I don't know if any of you have seen this barge that Billy bought out there. Somebody else had tried to pawn it off on me. And I went, not a chance. But Billy came, hey, I like that thing. So Billy bought it. But anyway, we went up and down Poplar Bay with Poopsie standing at the front with his bagpipes. And we had people coming out of their cottages, people on the beach clapping, and it was one of the best days we ever had out there. My youngest son, Sean, that's here with his wife, Kayleen, had a destination wedding just this past January. And Billy and Diane and Kathy and Udo and some of our closest friends all come to that. And I know when I gave Sean the news of Billy's passing, he said how grateful they were that Billy and Diane were able to be there. About 3 weeks ago, we were sitting on his dock, one of the last few remaining nice autumn nights of this year. And it was nice calm. There was some guy kayaking, and very peaceful and serene. And Billy was talking about how much he loved being at Poplar Bay, and you know how grateful he was him and Diane could spend their time out there. And then he mentioned his dad. He says, you know, I've outlived my dad by a few weeks. I said, what? I said, has it been that long? He says, yeah. And I said, your dad was 65. And he says, yeah. It was kind of an off-the-cuff comment. I guess he had been thinking about it. But I know he thought about his dad often. Very profound. I just want to end the night by saying, for me anyway, a couple of lines from a tune that you've all heard. Oh, Billy boy, the pipes are calling. From glen to glen and down the mountainside. Excuse me. The summer's gone and all the roses falling. Oh, Billy boy, I love you so. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bish and Fozzie. Appreciate that. As I said, Billy was a gentle giant and had a great sense of humor, which I became the victim of on more than one occasion. I'll tell you a specific story. So, back circa probably about 2000, Scotty McLennan and myself executed one of the first search warrants in the city on a meth lab. Unfortunately, our information, as quite often was bad. So Johnny Lutz had wrote the warrant, and it turned out we executed this warrant. And we go into this house on Boyd. And right away when you walked in, I mean, anyone in the room who's a cop, when you go into a house or a building or anything and something isn't right, you know it right away. So we execute this warrant, we go in, and it smells bad. Like it's acidic, acetone kind of smell. There's bubbling beakers everywhere. like a complete, looked like a science lab. So of course, the two of us, probably not being the brightest two when it comes to things like this, we go around and we start sniffing the beakers and, oh, I wonder what this is. Let's smell it. The whole room is smoky. Of course, I was smarter than Scooby. I don't know if he's here today or not, but I was smarter than him. So after about 10 minutes, I said, we better get out of here. Like, this doesn't look good, eh? And it doesn't smell good. So we backed out. We get outside, and in those days, this was like Clan Lab. There wasn't even a Clan Lab team. We called out hazmat. So the fire department shows up, and of course, I hope there is some firemen in here, because these guys showed up, and they're like, fuck you, we're not going in there. Typical, there's a cat to save in a tree somewhere. We won't deal with real things, so I look at them and I go, we're just wandering around there with no masks, no protective gear, like nothing. You guys aren't going in. So anyways, long story short, we got a hazmat. I think back then, the WPS, I think we had some sort of a hazmat team before there was a Clan Lab team. They came out and they figure it out, and they're like, you two dumb fucks, that's a meth lab. And I'm like, well, how would we know that? That's the first one in the city. And long story short, they tore down the building. That's how much damage there was. We went for testing, and they said, oh yeah, you guys are okay. So you guys see the way I am. The chief is here. There might be a little claim made on workplace health and safety. Stunted my growth and affected my brain. So anyways, back to Billy. So I give Billy a call, big vice sergeant. I go, Billy, we got something like buggered up here. He goes, well, figure it out. I go, that's why I'm calling you. At the time, I was a constable. I go, like, I'm phoning you to figure it out. Well, he says, figure it out. I'm busy, and he hung up on me. I'm like, okay, fair enough. Thanks, Billy. So, as it goes, this was the first meth lab in the city. They ended up tearing the house down. It was in the 800 block of Boyd. The house was so destroyed that they tore it down. But right in this spot, actually, believe it or not, Billy Stewart gave a lecture at a conference in regards to Clan Lab, and it was a vice conference, and I was at the conference. And me and Scotty were both at the conference. So he gets up, and he starts talking about this Clan Lab. And I'm like, so I nudge Scotty and I go, look, we're going to be famous right away. Billy's like this respected vice sergeant, and he's going to talk highly of us and make us look really good, and we're going to get promoted, and we're going to move up, and we're going to be a big deal. So Billy starts talking about this Clan Lab, and he goes, yeah, and I got IDENT to come out because we were trying to figure out whose Clan Lab this was, and we're investigating it. And we got IDENT to come out, and the only prints we retrieved from that scene were from Constable Kevin Smith and Constable Scott McLennan. I look at Scotty. What an asshole. Anyways, he got me good. It was good. So that's Billy. That was Billy. And he went on and on and on. He didn't let it die. And every conference he spoke at, he talked about it. And so, yeah, anyways, I got promoted in spite of him. Let's put it that way. So on that note, I would like to introduce a good friend of Billy's, Wes Taplin, who is the Reeve at the RM of Rockwood. I'll get him to come up and speak. Thank you for coming up.
Geez, I don't even have to adjust this. Thanks, Smitty. Bookends. Bill and my relationship were more like DeVito and Schwarzenegger, as you can tell by my stature, but it wasn't anything to do with his police service. He was a very valued piece of rockwood. When we think of Bill, one of the first things that comes to mind is his ability for connection. It wasn't just about meeting people, it was that he had a genuine appreciation for everyone he worked with. He could be impressed by anyone willing to contribute to the greater good, no matter their role or background. He saw value in every skill set and had a special way of recognizing the contribution each person brought to the table. Bill began his role as Rockwood's Municipal Emergency Coordinator in 2020, right in the height of COVID, and I wondered, Bill, have you lost your marbles? You're stepping into a hornet's nest. But I went over and had a visit with him and asked him if he was interested, and of course he was. It was a year that none of us will forget. Starting a new position is always a challenge, but starting in the midst of a global pandemic was extraordinary. The world was uncertain, routines were disrupted, and the need for a clear, calm teammate had never been greater. Bill rose to that challenge with strength, resilience, and a remarkable ability to connect with people even when much of the world felt distant. As a coordinator, he wore many hats. He was a planner, he was a communicator, he was a problem solver, and literal calm in the storm. His work touched so many corners of the community, whether it was developing emergency plans, bringing together first responders and municipal staff, or helping residents prepare for the unexpected. He understood that a good emergency management is ultimately about relationships. He trained and guided teams, organized response exercises, and often acted as the calm voice in a stressful situation. Essentially, he worked tirelessly to keep the community safe and connected and ready for the unexpected. Bill didn't just focus on procedures or paperwork, he focused on people. He knew that trust, respect, and teamwork are what hold a community together, especially during a time of crisis. Bill had a rare talent for building that trust. He could take a room full of different personalities and turn it into a team. He found common ground where others might have seen only differences, and he did it with charisma, humor, and the unmistakable spark that made everyone feel welcome. His trust was earned. His passion for protection shone through in everything he did, whether guiding volunteer teams, planning for emergencies, or supporting the community through potential uncertain times. His dedication made people feel safe, cared for, and confident, and that he had their best interests at heart. It didn't matter where he went. Bill could walk into a room with a friend and walk out with many. That was his gift. He had an ease about him, a personality that drew people in and made them feel like they belonged. Whether someone had known him for 5 minutes or 5 years, they walked away feeling respected and appreciated. And that is so true, because I remember Bill telling me, he had that common last name, that's Stewart, and if somebody didn't know them, right away they would say, well, how are you connected? And that would start the talking, and after that, he was friends to everybody. It's not easy to measure the impact of someone like Bill. You can point to the emergency plans he strengthened, the partnerships he built between departments and volunteers, or the countless hours he spent ensuring others were prepared. But the real legacy lays in the people, in the friendships that started through his introductions, the confidence he inspired in others, and the sense of belonging he nurtured everywhere he went. Bill reminded us that relationships are the true foundation of any strong community. His ability to connect wasn't just a skill, it was a reflection of his heart. And even though we feel his absence deeply, the relationships he fostered, the bridges he built, and the warmth he shared will continue to shape our communities and our lives for years to come. Thank you. I don't have to adjust it.
I am taller than you too, look, see?
Bookends.
Thank you, Wes, and I did move the mic up about an inch. Thank you very much. So Billy and I had reconnected in recent years, attending the PTSD support group for retired members that was organized by Jerry Marinick, Russell Elliott, and Denny Fontaine. I was in attendance as a support from the WPA, and I can tell you that Billy was very committed to this group. Diane was often there with him, usually there with him actually. He was partially responsible for the great success of the support social last spring that was held, that raised over, I don't know how many of you were there. I know Jerry and crew are here. That social raised over $1 million locally for wounded warriors. And Billy was a huge part of that. So at this point, I would like to introduce Billy's children. Tessa, Dylan, and Sarah, can you come up, please?
I'll have to adjust this, sorry. I am Bill's daughter. Thank you, everyone, for being here today and supporting us and our family and our dad. For those of us that haven't heard a million stories, I'm his youngest daughter, Tessa. This is my oldest sister, Sarah, and my brother, Dylan. I'm the talkative one, so I'm gonna share some words today. Goes without saying, we've all been very blindsided by our dad's sudden passing this past week. But I'm gonna speak for all of us when we say we've never felt so much love and community from all our family and friends and just the community our dad helped build. So I got no words to say how grateful and appreciative and how much help we feel it. Thank you. Some of the first thoughts that ran through my mind when I first heard about my dad was that he's gonna miss out on so much. He was supposed to be part of so much of our lives and he had so much time left. He won't know his grandkids or he won't be able to walk me down the aisle. Excuse me. But I know he'll be there in spirit, and that makes me feel better. I feel him here, so that helps. I see him so much in our family. Like, I see him in my brother and my sister and my uncles and my cousins, all his friends, all these stories. I'm like, he did that to me at home. He tortured me at home. I got him back, though. I'd put rubber snakes in his shoes before work. So he was, if you're being tortured at work, he was getting friendly fire at home. Something about my dad that I always looked up to was that he was always there, no matter what, whether it was big. actual emergency, he helped us with a lot, or if I needed to complain about something. I know I could always count on him. He'd visit me every year on my birthday in Edmonton when I lived there. I always knew I could count on that, whether it was a question of seeing family for the year. I knew my dad would be there for my birthday. He showed up for a lot that he wasn't even comfortable in. My sister and I are artists. He doesn't know a damn thing about that. He'd show up. He looked so uncomfortable, but he always showed up. He was always there. Another one, couple more I have written down. Diane, my dad and I went to Toronto. I forget how old I was, but my dad's scared of heights. He's terrified of heights. We made him go up the CN Tower, and Diane and I went out on the glass bit where you can see all the way down. And now we're like, oh, Dad, come on, come on. And he stood there, his arms crossed. He's leaning against the wall. He's like, nope, I'm okay. Didn't move. One time he drove my brother and I to Narcisse to the snake pits. We were interested in the snake pits. He didn't get out of the car. He told us, if you come back with a snake, I'm leaving you here. You're finding your way home. We tried looking for a snake. We couldn't find one. It was the off season. It wasn't the snake season. So we got a ride home. But one of the most memorable conversations I've had with my dad, again, those of you who don't know, I lived in Alberta for 5 years. I was going through a very hard time. I was in the process of moving back home, back to Winnipeg, and I remember I was really insistent on, I'm driving back by myself. I just want this all over with. I want to be home. And he called me and he said, sweetheart, your mom and I know how you're feeling. You're heartbroken now. It's going to happen again. It'll keep happening to you. Let us help you. And thankfully they arranged, my mom came out and drove back with me, so they knew I'd get home safe. And I knew that's all they cared about. But I didn't know my next heartbreak after that conversation would be this. And it's a lot worse. The last time I saw my dad in person was at Thanksgiving at the lake. Even though we all wish we had more time with him. I'm happy that my last in-person moment was so special, and it was full of family and friends, and we're all laughing. It was a beautiful day. It was a perfect day. We even got a performance at Danny Boy. But yeah, I can't talk too much longer. I won't keep you here all night. There's so much to say. We all know our dad. So again, thank you so much from the bottom of our heart. It means the world to us. And yeah, just thank you so much. And, thank you.
Hi, I'm gonna try to read what I wrote, but we'll see how far I can get. I guess just one thing that just kind of kept coming back that I've been thinking about with Dad, and it's one of those things where it was very sweet in the moment, but it was also kind of like, what are you talking about? I was having a really bad time, and I remember he was giving me a ride somewhere. I think it was like the MMF building on Henry, and he was like, you're not taking the bus there. And he came and picked me up and drove me. And I was really struggling at the time, and I remember we were driving, and he was trying to give me like a pep talk. But the way he chose to frame it was, he's like, you know that song, the one where they're like, I get knocked down, I get back up again, and I'm like, Chub Thump. And it was just like, he was trying so hard to like tell me something meaningful, but I was so distracted, like, why is that? Why? Chumbawamba. But like, I do keep coming back to that, because it was just like, that was what Dad was like. Like, he would just say something that was was so odd, but it was really sweet. And it just, I can't listen to that song anymore now. I think the first night the three of us were together and we listened to it, we were just crying. I'll miss you, Dad. I'll miss our lunches together. We used to go to the East India Company and get lunch all the time. I found out later he had like impeccable timing whenever I was having a really bad day. Like the next day he would text me out of nowhere and be like, let's go get lunch. And then I found out later my mom had been telling him. And he'd been taking me out to lunch the next day to try to cheer me up. And I don't know if I'll ever be able to go back there either. Thank you all for being here. Like Tessa said, it really means a lot. Thank you.
So, I don't have anything written down. I'm not half the speaker my dad was, so I guess I'm just going to thank everybody for showing up today. It means a lot to all of us knowing how many people he touched in his life. Yeah,
Can't thank you enough.
I guess that's it.
Holy, you guys are tall. Wow. Take after your dad, eh? So that was something that Billy and I had in common as well. We talked about it quite a bit. We both lost our dads at a young age. Billy lost his dad at 65. I lost my dad at 62, actually. We had a lot in common when it came to that. If you guys need any help or you need someone to talk to, you just get a hold of me because I've been through it and I know where you're at. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to bring Billy's widow up here, Diane. We've spoken a lot over the last week and a half. I've tried to guide her through a tough time. Myself and Kendall Lugger have spent a lot of time trying to help and do what we can, so I tried to keep my distance, but at the same time, be close enough where if you needed me, you can get a hold of me. So without further ado, Diane, I'll get you to come up, and I think you're bringing your brother up? No? Okay. Okay. Come on up then. You're welcome. Do me a favor, leave the mic where it is.
Oh, I think it's kind of the right height. So anyway, I'd like to thank all of you who have come here today to help celebrate a man who's been taken from us far too soon, my tall, handsome Highlander. A very special thank you to Kevin Steyer and his staff from the Canadians, his help, listening, and reassurance, along with gentle persuasion from Lugger and Kevin Smith, to help create this amazing celebration, honoring a man who was known, respected, and loved by so many. Thank you to the people who, once I had asked them, said that they would share stories of Bill and his life up here today. There are so many people who have been by my side, helping me, his children, and his family to navigate through this sad and shocking time. There has been an overwhelming outpouring of messages, stories, sympathy, and support. I certainly could not have made it this far without any of it. A special thank you to Chief Gene Bowers. I didn't know you personally, but Bill was one of your biggest fans. And as well as to Superintendent George Labossiere, chaplain. Thank you for making that call that day and helping get through a very challenging day at that time, as well as the rest of the WPS executive. This would mean the world to Bill because he was a very strong, true, and proud Winnipeg City police officer. To Doug Roxborough, when I called early that morning, his words, without hesitation, were, "How can I help?" And with those words came so many levels of support. thank you so much. And as a close personal friend, Doug was one of the people that Bill first introduced me to. And I valued his friendship and I valued his support, and Bill loved you. To Ken Lugg, who reached out to help coordinate this event, share stories, helped us laugh through our tears at different times. Ken would call me, check in on me. He called me this morning, asked how I was doing and how the family was doing. Reach outs like that mean the world. Thank you. To Kevin Smith, both as a WPA member, fellow police officer, and friend, who shared information and agreed to be the MC for this event. Thanks, Kevin. To my circle, who with that early morning call never hesitated and came by my side for love, for support, to give hugs and help, and to make me laugh at moments when everything seemed so overwhelming. Michelle, Sharon, Kathy, Walt, Cheryl, Ainsley, and Ken. The last three people, I've known them for 43 years, and they flew in from different parts of the country and have spent the last week with me. I truly don't know what I could have done, what I could not have done without you. For all of you that has reached out, too numerous to mention, I am so grateful, thankful, and blessed. Bill's cousin Derek Ginter, who's in Ontario, he and his wife could not make it today. He had shared a message, and he said, "How does one say goodbye to such a person that was larger than life?" I just want to thank him. He's not here, but thank him from the bottom of our heart. To paraphrase our friend, and we consider him family, Henry, he and his wife came in those early days as well. We were chatting, and he said, once you came into Bill's orbit, you became part of his pack, whom he defended fiercely, loved with his whole heart, was loyal, and you knew that he had your back. We all knew that Bill wasn't perfect, but his strength and character shone through everything. Before Bill and I first met, I found out that I was working with a friend of his that he'd gone to school with. And me, if people don't know, I used to work in Stony Mountain Prison. I was a correctional officer for 30 years. So, being a bit paranoid, curious, and wanting answers, I cornered his friend at work, interrogating him with questions like, who is this Bill Stewart? Do you think I'm going to like him? And is he my type? And he, with his cheeky grin, said, yes, I think you will. Thanks, Sterling. There are so many stories, so many miles of memories that Bill and I shared, from being embraced by his law enforcement family, his curling family, to family members from both sides from his mom and dad. I call his mom my mama in love and my mama on earth. She is such a kind, lovely, and loving woman. She often shared that she had 4 boys to keep in line. She is small but feisty. Bill loved his mother so much. Family was everything to him, and he loved his 3 children with his whole heart. And when I met Bill, I wasn't able to have children, so I had the privilege and honor of being an extra mom. My Yaya sister's husband, that's what we call our friends, was a wonderful Texan man. When he first met Bill, he said with his lovely Texan drawl and grin, "Well, I didn't want to like you," but that was Bill's charm. When Bill first asked me to marry him in my friend's kitchen on New Year's Eve, he said he was going to marry me on the highest mountain in Scotland, Ben Nevis. I said, I want to wear heels? I don't think that's going to work. And to be honest, I didn't really take him seriously. After all, it was New Year's Eve, right? So 2 weeks later, he sits me down and asked, I still haven't gotten an answer to my question. I had actually forgotten and had to ask, what was that question again? He gave me that look, which we all know, and he said, I will only ask one more time, and the answer will be yes or no. Obviously, the rest is history. I love this quote that was in the back of our wedding book of memories. Sometimes right in the middle of ordinary life, love gives us a fairy tale. I will always love you, Bill. I always miss you. I'll always be here for his children. And Godspeed wherever you are. Thank you.
Well, needless to say, we can all take solace in the fact that Billy Stewart is up there somewhere right now with his kilt on, no underwear, having a great time. Billy and I shared a lot in common. We were good friends. We shared our Scottish heritage, we shared geography, we shared similarities in what our dads did. And I'm telling you, honest to goodness, you can tell by the size of this room today, he was a guy that would have given you the shirt off his back and had probably done it many, many times. So at this point, I'm going to introduce Billy's cousin, Ron Stewart, who's going to do his rendition of Danny Boy, I believe. If you want to come up here, Ron. Thank you.
One from Manitou.
Are you one of the guys from Manitou? Oh
Just one of them.
We'll talk later.
We definitely will. Again, I have to raise this up a bit, but now it's in my vision. Good afternoon. I'm Ron Stewart, and I'm one of many of Bill's cousins. I'd like to thank Diane and the family for asking me to share a few words. I stand here before you to honor a man that I feel we shared a number of values. He was a strong, loving family man, past and present. He was someone who cared about people and took the time to get to know you. He was a man that took the oath to serve and to protect. When most of us would be running away from the problem, Billy would be running towards it. He would spend hours forging new and long-lasting friendships. This was Bill. For that, I'd like to thank the family, because we know to forge them friendships that he had to take time away from you guys. And we thank you. Bill and I shared a passion for genealogy. I'm not quite over the top like he was, but I figured today is the day to wear the plaid. He had a keen interest in wanting to know where and where we come from. He would often call with messages. Did you know this one? Is that one of ours? He would often call. No, all right. He may have gone overboard on the Scottish side, but he held true to his Ukrainian roots also. He would talk about his Gigi and Baba teaching him Ukrainian when he was a small kid. One thing, and I've been told this numerous times by him, Bill disliked being called Billy. This I did every chance I got to. But he would always come back with that commanding voice. Quit calling me that. My name is Bill. As I read the condolences and as I sat here today listening to most of the speakers, it brings a big smile to my face to see that I'm not only the one that calls him Billy. Billy was larger than life, a gentle giant with a heart that was equally proportioned. He was loud, proud, and loved deeply. He loved his family without question, his sweetheart Diane, his children, Sarah, Dylan, and Tessa. He loved you the deepest. Auntie Mary, his mom, he loved her first, and that love never faltered. Billy only had one superhero, and that was his dad. Brothers John, Walt, and families, Billy looked after you guys like a big brother should. Trying to keep you on the straight and narrow, we all know it was not easy. Family meant everything, not only his own family. This showed true to the McRaes and also the abundant circle of friends. He was proud to be part of the extended families of the Stewarts and the Cahoots. In our younger days, it was family that was most important. Meals at Grandma's. We always played. You could count on Billy to be there if you needed him. His advice would come even when not asked for. If there was any trouble with the law, and yes, there was, you could count on Billy. He would help if he could. I remember him calling one time. He needed advice on a customs question. He wanted to know what was the cheapest way to get 2 cases of wine through the border for Diane. I said, put it on the front seat and drive through, just like your dad did. Billy's door was always opened, and there was always a bed there if you needed rest. Our families, our dads chose the same careers. Where did he go? Dad also was Grey Goose. But they chose the same careers, and we followed each other back and forth from Emerson to Stonewall and back. They were our go-to people. One day, all 7 of us ran away from the babysitter and went to Auntie Mary's. Often as kids, we would return to Emerson to curl with our dads and whatever other cousins showed up. In the later years, as we got older and could drink, it was Scuttlebutt Deer Lodge. These usually ended up with late-night drunk calls. There were many camping trips, fishing trips, and the odd golf tournament. In 2010, Donnie and I made a stronger bond with Billy when we were able to curl in the police curling. I can't remember which one of them mentioned this earlier on, but said that they'd curled numerous times with him. But Billy never... Billy was runner-up in the Manitoba rep 13 times. This ended when I joined the team in 2012. Bill had to draw to the This ended when Billy, Rob Gwennison, Gary Breers, myself, and Don Nelson won. Bill had to draw to the button to win, and he did. We went off to Montreal that year, but we lost to Saskatchewan in the finals and brought home the silver. After this, he went on to skip 4 more nationals. In 2014, he was presented a lifetime membership to the Canadian Police Association. My last conversation with Bill just 2 weeks ago was about getting a team ready for this year's playoffs. He had told me he'd lost a lot of weight and he was feeling pretty good. I told him I hadn't had any better offers, so why not do it? His reply, fuck off. I wasn't offended though, for this was a term of endearment. As I said earlier, Billy was one of the proudest Scotsmen I have ever known, maybe only second to William Wallace. He was Diane's 6'3" handsome Highlander. He was everything Scottish. He would have made a great clan chief. He wore his kilt proudly, and he may have consumed a few drams of whiskey while he was doing it. One thing I'm grateful for, he didn't learn to play the pipes. I've heard over the other speeches how many different pranks and that. Some of you here may remember or being a part of the photoshopped picture of Billy sitting in the front row with the Queen. If you didn't see it, picture this. Billy in his kilt, sitting in the front row with the Queen with his legs spread wide open. Now try to erase that. As we get ready to say goodbye to today, Billy, you can leave us knowing we know we were loved, and we loved you in return. Till we meet again, rest well as you gather with those that have gone before us. Different ones have told you that, talking about Danny Boy, and Billy always had a rendition. They weren't always the same. But if you open your programs, the words of Danny Boy are in it, and we're going to sing it today and send Bill off in true Bill Stewart fashion. I'm going to try to lead you, so help me out. Oh, Danny Boy, the pipes are calling from glen to glen and down the mountainside. The summer's gone and all the roses falling. It's you, must go and I must bind. But come ye back when summer's in the meadow, or when the valley's hushed and white with snow. I'll be here in sunshine or in shadow. Oh, Danny boy, I love you so. But when ye come and all the flowers are dying, if I am dead, as dead I well may be, you'll come and find the place where I am lying, and kneel and say an Ave there for me. And I shall hear, though soft you tread above me, and all my grave will warmer, sweeter be, for you will bend and tell me that I love you, and we shall sleep in peace until you come to me. Rest well.
money that e'er I've had, I spent it in good company, and all the harm that e'er I've done, alas, it was to none but me. And all I've done for want of wit to memory now I can't recall. So fill to me the parting glass. Good night and joy be with you all. And of all the comrades that e'er I've had, they are sorry for my going away. And all the sweethearts that e'er I've had, they wish me one more day to stay. But since it falls unto my lot that I should rise and you should not, I will gently rise and softly call, good night and joy be with you all. Good night and joy be with you all.
So in closing, I'd just like to thank everybody for coming. Obviously, we've got the tavern open next door. It's closed to the public, just us. Come and have a drink and tell some stories and send Billy out the right way. Thank you very much. Roxy, you're up.